Man, we all need a little bit of hope. Today, I have a guest that not only shows you what the problems in Washington, D.C. are, but how to act and find a solution. We're going to be talking about the border crisis, how to get Alejandro Mayorkas removed, Biden's national mental decline, and so much more. To help me do that, I have my special guest, Brigitte Gabriel, here. Brigitte, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me with you. I am honored.
So, just so people know, you are a political, cultural, and national security expert. You survived living in the Middle East in an 8x10 bomb shelter. You're regularly asked to speak on Newsmax, OAN, and Fox News, and I'm lucky enough to have you as a special guest today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. You know, in the old days, I used to speak on CNN and MSNBC and CNBC and all those. Unfortunately, today, the country is so divided that there is such a clear line between those of us who love America and who stand up for America and those who don't like America and want to transform America. So I'm honored that I'm on your show. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, Stephen. I'm glad you're waking up millions of people. I'm glad you're bringing conservatives together to share their point of view and notify people about what people are doing, who is out there. We need to find each other, work together, network together, and inspire and motivate each other and give each other hope. We can win our country back, but we have to work together hand in hand and get it back.
Well, I'm so excited about this. I'm doing my part in my little corner in Utah. I reach about 14 million people a month, but we want to go even bigger. Okay, now I want my viewers to know that you and your ACT group were single-handedly behind this impeachment push to get Alejandro Mayorkas off the border, out of the Washington D.C. and protect our border. Tell us about your group and tell us about how you guys are planning, I think tomorrow, to push for a second vote to get him impeached. Let us know about that.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, I believe actions speak louder than words. The problem on our side is a lot of people are educated about issues, but they do not know what to do about it. We give them something to do about it. My group, Act for America, and I started Act for America after 9/11 because, you know, as you mentioned, I survived terrorism. So I understand why protecting your freedom and your national security is vital to your longevity, to your health, to the health of your country. I started Act for America because I wanted to not only inform people about the issues, but what they can do about it. And I named the organization Act for America. Not think about America, not hope for America, not wish for America, not pray for America, but act for America, because without taking action, nothing happens. So I started Act for America, and today we are over 2 million members nationwide. We helped pass 240 bills on the federal level and the state level to protect the country. When Biden came to power and we saw what Mayorkas is doing with the border, our country has never been more in jeopardy, in danger because of what we are importing into our country. And he is responsible for what's happening at the border. Yes, Biden has the ultimate responsibility, but Mayorkas should be removed and replaced because he is bringing terrorists into the country. So what my organization does is we work with elected members of Congress on putting pressure on them nationwide. We have emailed people sign up to receive our emails and action alerts. I encourage you to go to actforamerica.org right now and click on Act Now campaigns. You'll see the campaign to impeach Mayorkas. We put pressure on our elected officials utilizing our membership nationwide. We reach about 7-8 million people a day on our social media. So when we turn up the fire or the heat towards elected official, hearing from their own constituents, that's how we bring about change. We started pushing to impeach Mayorkas about a year and a half ago. And finally, we were able to bring the impeachment articles on the floor for a vote. Please continue the pressure. We were not able to pass it 2 weeks ago. Now the vote is coming back again tomorrow to impeach him. He should be fired. He should be replaced. He is, you know, people say, oh, it's the president. It's the president. No, it's not. It's Mayorkas as well. Tomorrow is the vote. Make sure you go on actforamerica.org right now. No matter where you're watching us right now, in any state in the union, you can take action. Click on Act Now campaigns. You'll see the campaign to impeach Mayorkas. Please take action and let your elected official hear from you before tomorrow.
Right. And do you think those Republicans have now had the weekend to take a breath and go, wait a minute, for the good of the country, we need to do this? We also have Steve Scalise coming back from his cancer treatment. Do you think we're going to be able to get this impeachment?
We're going to be able to get the impeachment tomorrow. We're going to have the votes with Steve Scalise back. We will be able to have the vote, and we will be able to impeach him. At least it's the first step in doing something to secure the border. We're working very hard on multiple bills in Congress right now. Look, we have a bill to impeach Biden. I mean, you know, this is a topic I know you and I are going to get into this today. But look at Biden. I mean, why don't the Republicans have the backbone to impeach Biden? Look what the Democrats did to Trump. This is a time when the Republicans need to get their act together, come together, vote together, work together, because our country is hanging on a cliff, Stephen. We either work together to survive and take our country back and rebuild it to be the great nation we once had, or we're going to lose our country.
Yeah, well, you got me fired up. I hope everybody else is as well. You know, I noticed in the last 48 hours, Alejandro Mayorkas is going on every cable news network he can. And you know what his answer for the border problem is? It's Donald Trump. He's the reason that we're being flooded. He's the reason that we're seeing more captures at the northern border, that we're being flooded at the southern border. Is this just absolute propagandic lies?
This is absolute propaganda and lies. Look, if they reinstitute Trump's policy right now, today, which they can do, you know, if they reversed it with one in one day, they can reverse it back in one day. And if they go back to the Trump era, look how much the border wall was almost done. We were 2 weeks away from finishing the border wall. We were secure. Our country was secure. The number was coming down. The release into Mexico was back. We were safe. This is excuses. The reason why people are flocking into our country, look, I have friends in Lebanon who are now trying to get into Mexico, because people know if you get to Mexico, you can waltz your way into the United States. There's an employee at the Mexican embassy in Beirut, Lebanon, selling visas to Mexico for $3,000 a visa. At the Mexican embassy, a Lebanese guy, employee at the Lebanese embassy, because the word is on the street worldwide. If you can get to Mexico, you can waltz your way into the United States. When we have criminals breaking the law, coming into our country, attacking our police, like what happened in New York, without any respect to our police, and then giving the finger when they were released from jail, goes to show you the disrespect. They know, the criminals know their right. They know that the Democratic government in our country right now supports them, protects them instead of the American people. That's why we have criminals flocking into our country, because of the weakness of Mayorkas, our vice president, who was the border czar, Biden. The whole team of this administration is what's endangering American lives.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's so obvious to most of us, but, you know, what shocks me is that there aren't more Democrats going, wait a minute, my party's abandoned me. They've made my children less safe. They kicked them out of school. People that have come into the country are getting more monthly money than people on Social Security. I mean, it's like such a slap in the face. And yet people continue to support these radical progressive Democrat talking points. It's just absolute insanity to me. I wanted to switch gears with you really quickly. The last 72 hours have been hard on Biden, and I'm okay with that, because I've been telling this for probably 3 years now, that he has mild dementia. It's getting worse. It's very obvious now. But New York Times has turned on him. CNN has turned on him. MSNBC, they're still kind of trying to point out that he's doing a great job, but the truth is coming out that he has limited cognitive abilities. He's old. He's moving slow. The world is watching. Do you think this is the end of Joe Biden's presidency? And who are they going to try to replace him with?
Look, the Democratic Party is scrambling right now. So finally, it's out in the open. People like you and me and everybody on the conservative side knew that Biden was not running the country for the last 3 years. Biden was the front. He was the puppet. There was a whole team running the country behind him. And that's why the Democrats, for them, putting Biden is a success, because it doesn't matter whether he wins the next. That's why they want to run him again. It doesn't matter if he wins again. They are in charge, not him. He's just the puppet that they put in front of the stage. But now they realized they can no longer hide. It's out in the open. It was out in the open, Stephen, for the whole world. Saudi Arabia last year did a shtick. You know, they have like a Saturday Night Live in Saudi Arabia laughing about Biden. Biden has been the laughing stock of the world. Look, the world is not stupid. They realize the guy is senile. It was only in America, our left media, the mainstream media was trying to lie to us. No, Biden, the president this and the president did that. Who do they think they were fooling? They were not fooling people like you and me. But now they can no longer hide. And I think the Democrats are feeling the pressure of even the left press is now saying, okay, let him come out, let him do more press conferences, let him put out the lies that he is not senile, that he actually can carry a press conference, that he actually is not demented as they are calling him to be. So now when we start seeing the leftist press outlets calling for the president to come out and prove that he is not mentally challenged or decapitated the way the report says that he is, that's when you know they are starting to feel the heat. And that's why you see it from the White House right now. They are on full, the full PR machine was out this weekend trying to calm people down. No, the president is great. I was just listening to an interview about an hour ago. Some guy, I don't remember who was talking. Oh, the president is very detail oriented. He's very sharp. He's on top of things. He's dealing with so many things. He's got a lot of meetings and conference calls coming up with world leaders. All of a sudden, they're scrambling to try to put him together. But the cat is out of the bag. And I think the Democrats know that they are in trouble. And I think they are scrambling right now to come up with somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I read last week that only 27% of the country is willing to identify themselves as Democrat. And I wouldn't be shocked if by the election that number is even lower. Who do you think they might put forward? Because I'm seeing Gavin Newsome as the one most likely to take over, but I don't know that he's going to want to jump in and lose right away. That could be, you know, a real death nail to his political career. Any thoughts or opinions on who they might run?
Look, if they get desperate, you've got a few people that they can pull from. Gavin Newsome is one, but don't forget Michelle Obama. I think Michelle Obama, even though she says, "Oh, I don't want to run. I see what this did to my husband. I have no interest in running." I think baloney. I think towards the end, if they have to, if they feel they're going to lose, I think they're going to go to Michelle Obama, and she's going to come in as the savior of America. America needs saving, and she's only doing it because she wants to save America. I think that's a real danger, because if Michelle Obama gets into the fight of 2024, the 2024 election, we will have a major challenge in our hand.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats vote based on emotions. You know, Donald Trump, President Trump's name is such a trigger to them that they stop thinking. Their mind shuts off and their feelings take over. And for whatever reason, they lose their ability to think. They just go in rage, which is unbelievable. I have never seen anything like this in my life, Stephen. You know, I mean, I post a lot on Twitter. I reach a lot of people on all my platforms. We reach about 8 million people a day on our social media platforms. And you cannot believe the rage. Once you mention anything about Trump, the Trump derangement syndrome comes out. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Well, I think the Biden derangement is about to get started. 90% of the country, according to ABC this morning, says he's unfit to be president of the United States. So I think the sharks are out. They smell blood in the water. This thing's about to get ugly. And yet the Democrats don't have a plan B. And so it's going to be really, really interesting to watch that. I wanted to get your thoughts. You mentioned people not knowing who's really running the country. Tucker Carlson, much to the chagrin of the Pentagon, the White House, the United Kingdom government, he interviews Vladimir Putin of Russia. During that 2-hour interview, Putin said, we're all confused. We don't know who's running the United States of America, and that's extremely dangerous. What are your thoughts on him interviewing Vladimir Putin, and what are your thoughts on Putin saying, nobody knows who's running America?
First of all, I have such respect for Tucker Carlson because he is somebody who is willing to put his neck on the line to get the truth out. And I'm glad he did the interview. I mean, here we are. Putin is a world leader. We don't have to agree with him. But we as Americans need to hear the other side of who we are fighting in Ukraine, because we're sending billions of our tax dollars, Stephen, your tax dollar, my tax dollar, our viewers' tax dollars. We're sending billions of our tax dollars. We are actually depleting our military and our weapons sachet because we are sending it to Ukraine. And we need to hear the other side. We always hear, Zelensky being interviewed. We know already where the president of Ukraine stands. But we have never heard an interview with Putin. And I think we as Americans need to be able to hear both sides and then evaluate. Who do we want to support? What are we fighting? I think our government did a disservice to the American people by painting Putin as evil, evil, enemy, enemy, enemy. Yes, but you know what's so saying about know your enemy, know thy enemy. We need to understand who we are fighting. I'm glad he did the interview because it gave you an insight into how Putin is thinking. And when Putin talks about Russia, when Putin talks about world leaders, when Putin talks about the economy, when Putin talks about world geography, when Putin talks about what's happening in the world, and you contrast his sharpness with the sharpness of our president right now. I mean, when you see this, the American people, I think this interview with Putin should be mandatory for every single American to watch, whether you agree with him or like him or not. Obviously, Russia is not our friend. We as Americans, America's interest comes first before anybody else. Our loyalty is to America first before anybody else. And our loyalty is only to the United States. And having said that, we owe it to ourselves to be able to understand where our enemy is coming from. It doesn't matter who that enemy is, whether it's the leader of ISIS. Look, our television stations, even the leftist media, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNBC, MSNBC, aired when Osama bin Laden would issue a statement, or when al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, will issue a statement, or when they would do a press conference, they would air it talking about the news. This is who we are fighting. This is what they said. It's amazing that we have not heard anything about Putin. Nobody interviewed Putin other than Tucker Carlson right now. We do not know anything about where Russia is coming from. I think this interview is fantastic. I'm so glad he did it. It gave us a whole different perspective, the other side of the enemy we are fighting, and we're spending billions of dollars to fight.
Yeah, as you say, that they would give airtime to ISIS and
right.
Osama bin Laden and people in Iran, and yet when Donald Trump sweeps Iowa and New Hampshire, they don't show his victory speeches. I mean, like, our eyes are open to the fact that you guys are trying to rig the game in your favor, but you're losing because we see that you're trying to rig the game. It blows my mind that they would allow, like a terrorist leader on, but not somebody who's like super popular among half the country. It just shows, their focus and the propaganda that they're trying to push forward.
Stephen, they are showing their true color. They are showing that they are no longer journalists. They are political activists dressed in suits with a national platform on national television. And I think we, the American public, needed to see this, because people who work in the trenches, I've been doing this when I started my organization in 2002, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have seen the transition of the media. Remember, when I started Act for America, my organization, I used to go on MSNBC, CNBC, ABC. I used to go on all of them. I mean, MSNBC interviewed me for my book, They Must Be Stopped, Why We Must Defeat Radical Islam and How We Can Do It. Back in 2008, I was in the studio. Right now, it is inconceivable that I will be given a 30-second on MSNBC. So while we knew, as I saw the press change, especially after Obama, once Obama took office and with the changes with Obama, and then the President Donald Trump basically exposed them, the American public did not want to believe how bad it is, whether it's the media or the swamp in Washington, D.C. What President Trump did is shine a microscope, expose what was happening. So right now, we know that the press is no longer the press. The press is an arm of the Democratic Party, mobilized and weaponized to brainwash the American people and not deliver the news. And you mentioned they're not carrying President Trump's commentary after his victory wins, in Nevada or in Iowa, etc. What are they going to do when he is speaking at the Republican National Convention to accept the nomination? What are they going to do when there are debates? Are they not going to cover the debates if he's not going to be in the if he decides to be in the debates? They're not going to cover the debates. They're not going to cover his acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention. They're not going to cover what the president, a person who's running for the presidency of the United States, is saying. But it goes to show you their true colors. Now we know.
Yeah, now we know. Okay, you and your family lived through war in the Middle East. You guys, you lived in an 8x10 bomb shelter for, I think, 6 or 7 years. You were able to escape, come over here, legally migrate here and become a citizen. You love the United States. You fight for the United States. Where do you see things going with this conflict in the Middle East now? Are we heading towards war again, or are we just right now posturing and letting the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran know not to mess with us right now? What are your thoughts on the Middle East situation?
Well, right now, Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis think we are a joke. Okay, so let's start with that. But let me give you a little bit of my background as to how I ended up in America. I ended up in America by moving to Israel and becoming a news anchor for world news in the Middle East, covering world events from 1984 till 1989. And that's when we started seeing a rise of radical Islamic terrorism on the world stage, on 4 continents. When I started reading the news night after night in 1986 as news anchor for world news, I started realizing that there was a pattern developing, because no matter where the terrorist activity took place, the name of the victims were always Islamic. Ahmed, Muhammad, Hussein, Ali, the name of the victims were always Westerners. The perpetrators were Islamic. The name of the victims were always Westerners, Christians and Jews. Terry Waite, Terry Anderson, the Achille Lauro, the Pan Am flights, etc. And I started realizing there was a pattern developing, because that what I used to think was a regional problem between a majority Muslim Middle East wanting to kill or expel the minority Christians and Jews had become a worldwide problem. But the world was not paying attention. The world was not connecting the dots. And this is exactly what the 9/11 report said to us after we were attacked on 9/11. We lacked imagination. It's not that our enemy did not tell us how much they hate America or what they want to do to America. They said it to us with their actions again and again and again. We buried our head in the sand and we pretended it didn't happen. We lacked imagination. Now, 22 years after 9/11, we can no longer say we lack imagination. We know how much they hate us. We know their plans. So when we look at the Middle East today, nothing has changed in the Middle East. The only thing is they became more emboldened because they realized that America doesn't have the will to fight. And what I mean by that, watching after 20 years in Afghanistan, the disastrous withdrawal out of Afghanistan that was decided, overseen by Biden, senile Biden, made us the laughing stock of the world. But that lesson did not go wasted on our enemies. Our enemies realized they have, under Biden, a 4-year window of opportunity. All the axis of evil, Iran, Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran, who funds all the Houthis, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, started pouring their money because they knew they want to see a shift in world power. And the only way they're going to realize that shift is they're going to be able to pull it under Biden, because they knew Biden, when he repeatedly says, we don't want to get into a confrontation in the Middle East. We don't want to get into a confrontation in the Middle East. We don't want to get into a confrontation in the Middle East. Our enemies know Biden doesn't want to get into a confrontation. And this is exactly why Iran felt strong enough to bomb us 166 times since October 7th, before we responded 15 times attacking empty warehouses where we knew people were not there. And in the last attack, before we started bombing them, we actually told them by the time he issued the order, it took 6 days to implement the order to bomb. And we told them, vacate, we're going to bomb you. So basically, by the time we started bombing, all these people in Syria and Iraq were already in the nearest hotel or Airbnb away from the places we were bombing them because they knew we were coming. This is not how you fight your enemy, because you lose the element of surprise. And while we are attacking locations in Iraq and Syria, we're not attacking what hurts Iran the most. What hurts Iran the most is taking Iranian interest. Like when we killed Soleimani, in Iraq, we took out one guy. He was a strategic position for Iran. He oversaw the training of all extra groups. So if we are serious about attacking Iran, let's start taking Soleimani's replacement, Qani, who is basically funding the Houthis, funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah, overseeing the operations. That's how you hurt Iran.
Wow. Oh, such a concise summary of what's going on. Final question, Brigitte. I appreciate you coming on. When Donald Trump takes the office again in January of 2025, do you see this border situation and the energy situation and the Middle East situation completely changing?
It will start changing on day one. The difference between a Trump presidency in 2025 and the Trump presidency in 2017 that started in 2017 is when he started in 2017, he didn't really realize how bad the swamp was. He didn't clean house when he took office. For 2 years, we had the House and the Senate and the presidency, and the Republicans didn't do anything, even though he was trying hard. And he realized people who were within the government were sabotaging him, leaking information out. Right now, when President Trump takes office again, he is going to clean house. He's going to bring top of the line people like Tom Homan, the top of the line people that he trusts, who worked very closely with him in the last administration, and the last time he was president, where they're going to impact the country in a way that it's going to make people's heads spin. The economy is going to come back. Oil, we're going to be the richest country in the world because he is going to unleash the drill, baby drill. He's going to secure the border. Our enemies, no, they're not going to mess with America because they don't know what he's going to do. They think the guy is crazy. He can bomb us into smithereen. We cannot mess with Trump. So I think all that is going to return. And that's why, Stephen, now is the time we conservatives need to organize. It's not enough to listen to talk radio. It's not enough to attend conferences. It's not enough to listen to podcasts. It's very important that we are informed. I'm not understating the fact that we need to be informed, and people watching, people like you and me right now talk about it. That's great. But if you listen to this podcast without going to actforamerica.org right now and join us, sign up to get our emails and action alerts, start a chapter in your community. We are mobilizing, starting chapters nationwide. We have people on the ground in 97% of US counties. It's infrastructure on the ground that's going to take the country back. It's people active in their local level, in their own city, in their own county, in their own little town, in their own little village that's going to take the country back. You understanding who your elected officials are and what they're doing. That's what's going to take our country back. So I encourage you to go to actforamerica.org right now. Become a member. Sign up to receive our emails and action alerts. Start a chapter. We need chapter leaders. We will train you. We will mentor you. We will connect you with other people in your community who are members with us, who share our ideology, who share our love for America and the desire to take America back, to preserve her, to build her up, to strengthen her for our children and our future. I encourage you to go to actforamerica.org. Listen, Stephen, I tell people, going to conferences, that's entertainment. Conferences are like concerts. You have performers in concerts. In conferences, you have political speakers who are the main attraction. People get so excited. Oh my gosh, I went to CPAC, I went to Turning Point, I went to whatever great conference you have on the right. Don't confuse attending conferences with activism. That's not activism, that's excitement, that's education. And we need to be around like-minded people, and we need to be on fire, and we need to be encouraged. It's like a support group. But that does not win election. That's entertainment. Yes, you got to take your picture with famous celebrities. And when you go home after 7 days, you forgot half of what you heard at that conference. And you sit at home and say, okay, so what do I do now? They tell me to go out and vote. Well, there's a lot of things that happen between voting days. And that's where we need you engaged. And again, I named the organization Act for America. Not think about America, not pray for America, not hope for America, because you can do all that, but without taking action, nothing happens. Go to actforamerica.org right now and join us.
Oh, man. Brigitte, thank you so much. I've got to cool my computer down because you're on fire. I love it. I love it.
You know what? Can I add one more thing?
Yes, please.
I have it on my website. 2% of the passionate will always overrule the 98% indifferent. It doesn't take many of us to change the world. It takes a dedicated, passionate few. The left is on fire to transform our country. We need to match their fire with the fire, the love for America. That's how we're going to save America. Don't be an observer sitting listening to talk radio and sitting getting educated. Be on fire for your country, because all it takes is a spark to ignite a fire. That's how we're going to take back our country.
Oh, wow. All right. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to put that down below so that people can go.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Stephen, and I look forward for next time.
Thank you.